guess the last thing that I wanted to mention, and Ms. Litton can also touch on this, is Ms. Litton and I were able to go to a VSBA conference on upcoming legislation. And I guess the 4 things that they really identified that we should be focusing on going into the next session is the teacher shortage, equity in our schools, which obviously I know Dr. Noonan has a keen eye on. The 2020 session in general is going to be very interesting because there's a lot of budget issues that we need to look at. And then just advocacy in general as school boards and what we need to be doing to promote and educate our community. So.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the opportunity to go to a couple of liaison meetings. So first was Band Boosters last month. They're winding up for the year, and one of the big themes is the upcoming band trip in the spring. And it's the usual annual music days period of time. So if folks have an interest, I'll mention that one if you have interest, get in touch with the Band Boosters about odd jobs you may have that you need people to take care of for you. And then the other thing is the Gifted and Talented Advisory Committee meeting was last week. And there was a discussion about the topics that the committee wants to undertake for the year. And there's a discussion about making sure that we are appropriately identifying underrepresented groups that also are gifted and talented, and making sure that we have the appropriate ways of finding those students. The committee has talked about working together with the ESOL committee on that particular point. Supporting the staff in putting together the revised local plan for gifted education, which is a Virginia requirement. And then further discussion about Tiger Paws and Flex and making sure that the community understands how those work, and discussions of standard-based grading is another topic. The other thing I let them know, and it fits with our earlier discussion, is that we are aware that anxiety and stress are foci in the community, and that we're also worried about that as well, and wanting to make sure we're paying attention to it. So they are considering the idea of possibly having some kind of joint meeting with health and wellness on that one, but we'll see where that goes.
As Ms. Russell mentioned, we did attend the legislative conference, and Dr. Noonan also mentioned we're going to begin to work on our legislative package. So if anybody has any issues that you definitely want included in that, please let me know. I'd like to have at least some things we can mention when we do our Take Your Legislator to School Day. If you could get those to me in the next couple weeks, that would really be helpful. The Special Ed Committee also met for the first time on Monday evening. And we are still looking for a couple members for the Special Ed Committee. So if you know anybody who would be good for that, please let me know. And yeah, we'd like some more members. Thanks.
I've been on travel, so I don't have any updates. I did have one comment on the calendar page. I looked quickly. I didn't see any mention of the high school opening and how that could affect things. That might be worth adding that bit in there, but I'll let you sort that, Dr. Noonan.
Thank you. One of the things that we will do in the first community meeting is talk about what goes into what's the process for doing the calendar, what goes into a calendar, and then what are the drivers. And one of those drivers that we'll mention is the opening of the new high school, and looking at giving a day off in December and a day off in January to make the move. So it's a driver. It's not a dispositive about whether or not the calendar goes one way or another. And then what we'll do is we'll post that information in that site, so it will be there. But thank you. If I can also just kind of have a quick go back for 5 seconds, maybe a few seconds longer. At the Region 4 Superintendent's meeting, and I gave this to Ms. Litton tonight, so I'm sort of throwing you a curveball, Ms. Litton. We did talk about the vast draft legislative positions. So I'll talk those through with Ms. Litton as we go forward, but I'll also be sure to include this list of draft issues in the Friday update this week, so that may help prime the pump to support Ms. Litton's request for any questions or issues that you might want to address during your legislative program. So I'll give those to you as well.
And the chamber did not meet this month, but I just wanted to let everyone, I got an interesting email this week from a school board member in Whitefish, Montana, who's a doctoral researcher. She wrote, I'm currently researching effective school board governance, and I'm writing to seek your perspective. Based on your district's overall academic achievement scores and trends over the past 3 years, I've identified Falls Church City Public Schools and your board's governance as a model of excellence. So it was a really nice thing to have, and she interviewed me about how we've engaged internal and external stakeholders. She was particularly impressed with our calendar process, how we're reaching out to the community, and all the opportunities we've given for community engagement. And we're one of just a few districts that she's identified across the country as really having an excellent board. So congratulations to all of you. And I asked her when she finishes her research project if she would please send a copy, and I would distribute it to everyone as well. But I think it spoke really highly of the work that we do as a division. So next, we have approval of minutes. I would seek unanimous consent to approve the minutes of July 9th, August 13th, and September 16th, 2019 without objection. Seeing none, so ordered. Please review enrollment, any events for school representation, and if there's no further comments or questions, we are adjourned.